A local woman has filed a lawsuit in federal court against two Harrisonburg police officers, alleging that they violated her Fourth Amendment rights back on December 15th of 2018 when they repeatedly tasered her after she tried to pull officers off of her husband, whom she says were choking her husband. Melissa Duncan filed the lawsuit yesterday through her attorney, Mario Williams. The lawsuit alleges that the two defendants, officers Dwayne Jones and Stephen Kramer, used excessive force against Duncan when they tasered her twice. This video, released last year, days after the incident by the Harrisonburg Police Department themselves, shows the officers deploying their tasers. The night the officers tasered Duncan, they also arrested her and charged her with 2 counts of assault on a law enforcement officer and 1 count of obstruction of justice. If found guilty of those charges, Duncan would have received up to 11 years behind bars. But Duncan was backed by Nexus Services, and they paid her legal fees. With representation from attorney Jessica Sherman Stoltz, Duncan was found not guilty of all 3 charges back on August 21st of this year after a 2-day trial. Earlier today, Duncan told me that what happened to her that night has changed her life forever.
I see police officers differently now. When I get pulled over, I get anxiety. I fear that something's going to happen. I'm going to be profiled because they're going to know who I am. It's not the same. It's not. I still have nightmares about that night. A lot of people don't even know that when I was in jail, they actually put me in a restraint chair for no reason for 3 hours. So like stuff like that, like it brings up a lot of wounds that I don't think will ever heal all the way. But it's been life changing, and I will never be the same even after the justice that I received. I will always be changed.
Mike Donovan, who is the president and CEO of Nexus Services, the company that funded Duncan's defense and is currently funding this lawsuit, told Breaking Through why his company is willing to fund these cases.
We began assisting Melissa by funding her criminal defense, and we did that because the evidence was clear. Melissa and her husband didn't do anything wrong, and the police officers that invaded their home that night engaged in racial violence in an attempt to take people that they didn't think were as good as them and shut them up. They thought that they could disperse a crowd of mostly black people because they didn't think that they should be gathered in a private residence. Well, we do not have laws that give police the authority to determine what we do in our own homes. We don't have laws that allow police to attack us violently if they don't like the words that we say. So the police in this instance went way beyond the law, and they broke the law. They put the life of Melissa Duncan at risk, and they must be held accountable for it. Our first focus was to make sure that Melissa was found not guilty. She was. And then that focus then turned on making sure that these officers, Officer Jones and Officer Kramer, are held accountable. What does that mean? They have to apologize. They have to apologize, not just to Melissa Duncan, but to every black, brown, and socioeconomically disadvantaged white kid in this community, so that they know that the police actually apologize when they get it wrong. That's important. They also need to fire those officers. Those officers shouldn't have badges here or anywhere else. Those officers have demonstrated a willingness to engage in racial violence and a willingness to engage in that violence based on not liking what a person says. The laws that permit the beating of uppity black people were removed from this country's law books at the turn of the century after the Civil War. We are not going to go back there. We're not going to let the chief of police or the police department in Harrisonburg or the city council take us back there. We're not going to let that happen.
Duncan said she wants justice.
A lot of people have asked me, what do I expect to get from this lawsuit? And just to make it clear, I'm not looking for financial compensation. That's not what I'm seeking in this. I'm seeking justice. I'm seeking their badges because that is a role that holds honor in the community. When you are a police officer, you are the face of the community. You are supposed to be held at a higher standards than anyone else. And they are doing the badge a dishonor. They do not deserve that badge. And they don't deserve to potentially kill someone else next. They didn't kill me. I was fortunate. But next time it could be worse. So I'm seeking their badges, and I'm seeking clarity. I don't want people walking out of this thinking that I'm a bad person, I'm a criminal. I'm not. I was wrongly accused of things that could have cost me 11 years in prison. So I'm seeking clarity.
I mentioned to Mike Donovan that the Harrisonburg Police Department has a black police chief and just hired a Hispanic deputy police chief, and asked Donovan did he think having black and brown people in the ranks would change the way Harrisonburg police interact with black and brown citizens. Here's his answer.
Whenever I see police departments talk about their rank of diversity in the fact that they have members of color in their police force, we as a community tend to say, well, that's wonderful. Thank you. What? Black people and Hispanic people live in the community. Of course, the police should hire them, and the police should not get any extra recognition when they do what any company would be expected to do, which is hire people based on what their talents and skills are. This is exactly the problem in the United States of America with police right now. The police have additional power to go into your home, to take your things, to take your life, to arrest you. With that power should come some responsibility. And we shouldn't be apologizing for the police when they do things wrong. We should be holding them accountable. But yet in this country, there is a feeling that the police can do nothing wrong, and that questioning the police makes you somehow un-American. The police are doing wrong. There are scores of black and brown people being killed. We're lucky that Melissa Duncan wasn't one of those statistics. Lucky. There is a crisis in this country, and the police state have responded to it by making excuses and by protecting their brotherhood. And whether they're black, brown, or white, I have met very few police officers who are willing to do the right thing. To a police officer who sees someone lie, who sees a police officer lie, or sees a police officer fake evidence, if they come forward, they're a good cop. If they say nothing, they're dirt, just like the cop that broke the law. 90% plus of police officers every day ignore legal and ethical violations by brother officers because of the thin blue line. But the thin blue line has covered a multitude of sin in this country, and it is time for it to end. Police officers shouldn't be given an extra break. They should be held to a higher standard. And we're going to keep suing them until that happens.
I reached out to Harrisonburg Police Chief Eric English for comment on the case. Chief English told me he is aware of the lawsuit, but that he cannot comment on ongoing litigation. This is the developing story, and we will update our viewers as more information becomes available. In Harrisonburg, Theodore Whitelow, Breaking Through News.